What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another Switch news. Today we've got a lot of interesting topics to get into, but before we get into any of that, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell to get my videos first as we are ramping up the content on the channel and you won't want to miss any of it. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into the first topic here guys, and that is the Nintendo / Rockstar double standard that I am clearly seeing with the release of GTA, the Trilogy, the definitive edition across all the different platforms here. Now, I've gotten some time to actually play the game. I did get some review codes from Nintendo for it, and I played GTA 3, and I've played Vice City, played San Andreas, and there is varying levels of performance between these games, but it's definitely not an optimal or good product based off of all accounts on the Nintendo Switch. There are times when it's playable and there are times when it's just outright bad when it comes to the frame rate and other things, especially with GTA 3 on the Nintendo Switch. So that has been established, and there are issues with this game on multiple other platforms. It's not just the Nintendo Switch. Xbox has issues, PlayStation has issues, PC has big issues with this game. So it just goes across the spectrum, across the board. But what we're going to be discussing today is a little bit of this anti-consumer type of thing, double standard, because I just feel that there is not enough talk about this when it comes to Rockstar, because Rockstar produces what people like on a larger scale with a singular game, which is Grand Theft Auto across different platforms, Grand Theft Auto 5, Grand Theft Auto Online, and it's something to where they don't feel like going after the company and calling them that, as they're constantly consuming what they actually play or what they like the most. I'm not exactly sure what the dynamic is, but I've seen literally zero Rockstar is anti-consumer for this product. And we're gonna go over why a bit more, why this should be being said based off of what people feel is anti-consumer. Now, I don't use that term much or really at all unless it's really something to where a developer actually lies about what they were going to do or what the product is, and they lie to you to get you to buy it or whatever the case is. But if they tell you, hey, this is the product, this is what you're going to get, this is what's happening, and if you still buy it, it's not anti-consumer. You just choose if you want to buy it or not. I mean, it's just as plain as that. There's more expensive things, less expensive things that are across the board. But let's talk about this. I mean, do we owe Nintendo or maybe Skyward Sword or Super Mario 3D All-Stars an apology after seeing the debacle that is going down with GTA, the Trilogy, the definitive edition across all the different platforms? I mean, on top of that, you also have Rockstar that removed GTA, the previous game, San Andreas, and all these different games. They removed them from the different stores that they were available on. So that was a bit unfortunate, them removing them because of this release. On top of that, they are suing the modders of the people with the lawsuit and stuff like that, which I'll have more details on that. I haven't covered it in depth, but they are going through a lawsuit with the modders of people that did some of the previous games as well, which that's something that people hate when it comes to anti-consumer, taking down fan games, stuff like that we've seen before, right? Also, Rockstar has this weird thing going on PC right now for Grand Theft Auto, to where they pulled the game from the PC. They pulled the game, the definitive edition, they pulled it, and they haven't given people refunds yet. Now, I discussed this on the Spawncast as well, and I was baffled that they would pull the game and they would not give refunds at this point. Now, I know that they said that they're going to fix it. Apparently, there is some articles going around that Rockstar is going to fix some of this stuff, but you cannot pull a game and then on top of that you can't access that game. So they pulled the game from the PC, then they revoked the access of people who've already purchased the game, and the person can't get a refund for that. Now that's what I understand. That was what was said. Now, if there was any issue with that, you guys let me know in the chat, but I am not seeing any headlines on YouTube videos, or I am not seeing stuff on Twitter of where this is the anti-consumer campaign. Right? Where is that at? Now, people are bashing this release and people are saying, how could Rockstar do this? Like, I've seen headlines like that and, oh, it's terrible, it's not living up to expectations. But where is the anti-consumer? Where is that type of thing? Because we've seen it a million times before, or we see it when it comes to other companies. We see it when it comes to Nintendo. We see it when it comes to certain people, EA or whatever the case is. But now, since it's Rockstar, the word anti-consumer seems to just not be apparent. The word anti-consumer has disappeared. Now it's to something else. Maybe we'll see it more now at this point. Now that we've had a weekend to kind of get our hands on these games and we're kind of seeing with what Rockstar is going to go about handling this. But the fact that it wasn't from day one, people saying that, the fact that there wasn't anything from there, especially since they didn't show us gameplay beforehand, they were already selling a product and asking for pre-orders before they really even showed us anything. They had a short trailer, by the way, that they were copyright claiming and nobody called out, okay? They were copyright claiming the definitive edition trailer and nobody called that out. I know I did. I talked about it, but nobody wanted to talk about that. That seems to be a bit anti-consumer, that you're not allowing fair use on a video game trailer that you put out so people can talk about it, you know. But hey, it is what it is there. That's YouTube and them abusing the system, but that's like somewhat of a whole nother story, I guess. But that's also a bit anti-consumer because people can't even, you know, cover the game from a professional level without them saying, nope, we're going to copyright claim that for what should be fair use. So there are a number of issues here, and I'm seeing a little bit of a double standard when it comes to it, not just with Nintendo and people not saying anti-consumer, but also with companies like EA, you know, because if EA did this, or if maybe even Activision to some lesser degree did this, that would have definitely been the headlines across the board. But since it's Rockstar, now multiple times with the suing which came out, people didn't say anti-consumer. Now with the GTA being pulled, where are all the headlines from the content creators, from people out there? I would like to see it, but I feel that there is a mass double standard. Where are all the anti-consumer things when it comes to Twitter and all of that, right? I just don't see it. I don't see it. I see them obviously bashing the game, but not the company Rockstar that's doing some of these type of things and labeling them like they should be labeled, like they do with other companies. When stuff with classic games like this comes about, we saw the anti-consumer and everything with Nintendo and Skyward Sword and Super Mario and all of that. So I don't know. It just seems a bit weird to me. I'm not saying that I'm labeling that 100%. I'm just saying there seems to be a double standard when people like to rush to say that when it comes to certain companies, but not the company that they like because they're playing Grand Theft Auto Online, or because they're playing Grand Theft Auto 5 for the 70th time, or they're playing whatever their own Rockstar games that they love about this company. So, hey, that's just what I observe. But if I'm off base, if I'm wrong, you guys can let me know in the chat. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. All right, now moving on to the next topic here, guys. We're going to go into a little bit more of a sales update for Metroid Dread. Now, we do know, I've already talked about it multiple times, that Metroid Dread did have the best launch ever, the best launch ever for a Metroid game, and it actually more than doubled up the US MPD launch of Metroid Prime, the previous best-selling game in the franchise, with about 2.8 million units sold overall lifetime to date on Metroid Prime for its singular release on the GameCube. That sold about 400,000 in its first month on the MPD, all the way back in the day on the GameCube. Well, the Nintendo Switch with Metroid Dread sold 850,000 units, like I said, doubling it up and then some. So very impressive for Metroid Dread. But exactly how long are these sales going to last? What's going on heading into the holiday season? What can you expect when it comes to Metroid Dread? Well, if you're going off of the sales that we can at least see, at least right now, and see positional charts, it looks like things are still going very well. Now, I like to look at Amazon to kind of gauge what's going on just because of the pandemic. People are still buying games like crazy on Amazon and having it shipped to their house. That's the safest method for many people out there. The US market is the biggest video game market in the world, and Metroid is most popular right here in the US. So using the US as a sales gauge is pretty good, and using Amazon is a way, along with other sources as well, and of course Nintendo giving us their own direct sales results. But right now I'm looking at the hot new releases, so these are games that come out and it's updated pretty frequently on Amazon in terms of how things are selling. So if a game has dropped off completely like No More Heroes 3 did after it shot all the way up to #1, then dropped off like the next day or so, then you would know that the sales have dropped off. But that is not the case with Metroid Dread. Right now we have a pretty good kind of indicator how things are doing. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, obviously those games are up there, #1. Mario Party Superstars, you got Madden as well on different platforms. Then right after that is Metroid Dread. So I'm counting it up here, guys. It is still in the top 10 of games here. And if you do it in an individual release, so if you count Madden as one game across both platforms and you count Diamond and Pearl as one game across both platforms as well, Metroid Dread is right there from a video game release, is the 4th best selling game. It's still the 4th best selling game in terms of hot new releases. So people are still going over to Amazon even after the initial hype month back from October. So we are more than a month past now, you know, and people are still going there and buying Metroid Dread on Amazon. If they weren't, then they wouldn't be up here at this position. And if you look at it in terms of games overall, they're in the top 10, but they count stuff like the Oculus, and they also count like the Nintendo Game & Watch color screen, so stuff like that. But games only, it's still a top game being sold on Amazon, and it's still a top 10 product in terms of new releases. So that is very, very good to see heading into the holiday season, and how Metroid Dread is going to have a big holiday. Now, if you look at another thing that you can kind of gauge overall how a game is doing, is that you can use the Amazon best sellers, which I also like to use as well. And this is the things in terms of gaming that is sold the best for the year 2021. And if you're looking at it, Metroid Dread was lower down on this list earlier in the year because it was just based off of pre-orders. But now that pre-orders are done and it's actually based off of people that are just buying the game and everybody who actually went through with those pre-orders, you can kind of see how things are going. Now, there's also like a lot of headsets and PlayStation cards and stuff like that that people buy. But from a game perspective only, Metroid Dread is up there. You've got Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. You've got The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. You've got Animal Crossing New Horizons. You've got Minecraft for PC and Mac. You've got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Ring Fit Adventure, Pokemon Snap, also Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Then right after that is Metroid Dread in the top 10 of best-selling video games only for the year so far. And the game did just come out compared to all these other games that have been out for quite some time. So the sales are still going to be tracking because it's doing better on the new releases than some of these titles, for example, like Pokemon Snap. So I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the year if the game surpasses it or if it gets right near it. But Pokemon Snap is discounted to $46.99 on there. So this is definitely a good thing to see that Metroid Dread isn't dropping out of the 2021 bestsellers. It isn't dropping out of the Amazon new releases, and it's still in the top eShop charts as well. From what I saw, I think it's in the top 10 after SMT's release. So this is good. This is definitely good news heading into the holiday. You want to see the sales be steady, and then of course once Black Friday comes, you're going to get a bump in sales across the board on all different platforms for all games. And then also once the holiday like Christmas comes, that's when it's going to be big too. I think that Metroid Dread is going to benefit huge from one, Advance Wars being moved out of December, but also two, that there's no Super Smash Brothers new release this year. There's no big Zelda new release this year. There's no big Mario like single player adventure game release. We have Mario Party Superstars, but that's going to sell. We already know that's going to be like the secondhand sales and stuff like that. And in terms of like second, I just mean like people are just going to pick it up from a evergreen standpoint. It's not going to launch with like 10 billion people buying it, but it'll get there, right? Like just like Super Mario Party. But it's one of those things that's not like the big, you know, driving single player focused game that Nintendo would usually put out for the holiday season. Now you do have Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which is coming out pretty soon here, so obviously that's going to get into the mix and everything here, but you don't have that big new title. That is a remake of a game. So I think Metroid is going to benefit tremendously from November and December sales for the core Nintendo fan. I think you're going to see a lot of Nintendo Switch OLED and Metroid Dread underneath the Christmas tree this year, pushing the sales even higher and higher to that threshold. So I think that this is going to turn out pretty well, but we're going to have to wait and see. I'm just giving you guys an analytical standpoint, actually using data and facts here. So we'll see how all things work out with Metroid, but so far so good. So what are your thoughts on the continued sales of Metroid Dread on the Nintendo Switch? What do you think is going on here with the rest of the games? What are you looking forward to playing this holiday, or maybe even gifting for friends or family? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, now moving on to the next topic here, Dragon Ball FighterZ and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. We've got a sales update on this game and also some nice little goodies to commemorate what happened with the sales. So total worldwide shipments and digital sales for Dragon Ball FighterZ and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 have each surpassed 8 million units according to Bandai Namco, 16 million units between the two of them. So that is pretty cool to see, because they said have each surpassed 8 million units. So very good there. Now, to commemorate what is going on with the sales milestone, here's what they're going to be doing with the campaign. So in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, the campaign period from November 12th to November 18th, campaign details, you have a raid boss battle with Jiren full power. Also, participation reward, the Satan badge, common ×1, and the TP medal ×80. Now with Dragon Ball FighterZ, you have the campaign number 1 period from November 12th to the 20th. And the details are you can download content, characters, Bardock, Brawly, Zamasu, Fused, Gogeta, SSG, SS are free to play during that period. Also, campaign number 2 period, which will be from November 20th to the 28th, you have downloadable content characters Goku, Vegeta, Cooler, and Android 17 are free to play during that period. And then campaign period number 3 from November 28th to December 7th, you have downloadable characters Jiren, Videl, Goku GT, Janemba, Gogeta, SSG, SS, and Broly from Dragon Ball Super are all free to play during this period. So some nice little goodies. You can test out some of the DLC, see if you like it, and if you do, you can buy it. If not, you had some fun time to play with it. So I think this is pretty cool, and I'm happy that Dragon Ball is stronger than ever. This is one of my favorite franchises just out there, is Dragon Ball Z. I remember watching Dragon Ball Z a lot back in the day. I love Super, so it's good to see that there are actually good Dragon Ball Z games that are being made at this point, because there was a lot of games that were pretty rough back then when Dragon Ball Z came out and got super popular. So it's good to see that Xenoverse 2 and Dragon Ball FighterZ are doing so well in the arena fighter area and the tournament fighter type of areas. So what do you guys think about these sales numbers for Dragon Ball FighterZ and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the last topic here, guys, Jump Force. Man, this has been a little bit of a disaster for this game, and it just gets worse. So Bandai Namco will end all sales of Jump Force game, downloadable content, and virtual currency on February 7th, 2022 at 5 p.m. PT/8 p.m. ET across all available platforms, the company has announced. Then online services will cease to operate beginning on August 24th, 2022, anywhere between 6 p.m. PT/9 p.m. ET and 10 p.m. PT/1 a.m. ET. Now, after February 7th, this content will no longer be available to purchase digitally. You guys are seeing it all right here on the screen. And after August 24th, all the online services listed here will no longer be available as well. Now, however, offline content, online battles, excluding ranked matches, and purchase downloadable content will still be available for use after online services. And Jump Force is, of course, available across all the different platforms: PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PC, and of course, backwards compatibility with PlayStation and Xbox. So let's talk about this just briefly, because I actually went out there and bought 2 copies of Jump Force because of this, because I think that this game could potentially become rare, especially on the Nintendo Switch, because I do think that there's some of the DLC that's on the cartridge, which I will be making a separate video talking about rare games and what games could be rare, potential rare games with Nintendo Switch, considering the cartridge limitations and the price of those and some of the stuff that plays into why Switch games are expensive. So look out for that on the channel. But it's unfortunate because Jump Force was a game that was kind of doomed from the beginning. I mean, it looked like a game to me that just looked off. I know that it did start out kind of hot. It did sell, I think, 1 million copies, but I think that the player base just isn't there to keep the support for the game. What's the point of continuing these services and continuing having it up if nobody's in the lobbies, if nobody's playing the game? And that's why you have to make sure that your game is extremely high quality when it comes out, because if you're putting out a fighting game, you want there to be a certain base of players to continue supporting it, whether they're buying DLC or they're playing and enjoying the game, so you know that there is an investment there. You can still continue things, but Jump Force didn't have that. Jump Force didn't have that at all. So it's very unfortunate, but at the same time, I kind of saw it coming with it. But it is what it is. Jump Force is definitely going to be dead pretty soon here when it comes to the online services and the game. And I'm pretty sure nobody's really playing it anyway, because the game's not that great. But hey, at least they tried with something, but we'll see what they do next, because I know Bandai Namco will come back with some other type of collaboration, big arena fighter. They've been doing it for a while now at this point. So maybe the next time that they come out with something, they'll do it. But you know what? I will say this. Jump Force was nominated for Game of the Year. Okay, so this is a Game of the Year quality game being taken down from the stores. I mean, this is ridiculous. How could a Game of the Year quality game like this be taken down? So I don't know. Game Awards, Jeff Keighley, where are you guys at? Can you guys save Jump Force? Can something be done to save this Game of the Year, you know, fighting Game of the Year quality game? I mean, come on, Keighley, get on this. But what are you guys' thoughts on this when it comes to Jump Force, when it comes to Dragon Ball Fighter sales, when it comes to Metroid Dread, and of course the debacle, maybe even double standards when it comes to anti-consumerism of GTA, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.